Bitcoin, Litecoin, Ethereum, cash. Bitcoin, Litecoin, Ethereum, cash. Stacking my coin, stacking my coin. Stacking my coin, stacking my coin. Bitcoin, Litecoin, Ethereum, cash. Bitcoin, Litecoin, Ethereum, cash. Since I was born, been stacking my coin. These niggas pop, my money keep growing. Your girl is a dot, she all on my groin. She blowing my horn, we fuck like porn. These rappers is whack, they lyrics are corn. I'm getting this money, it never get born. I'm loading my strap, they calling the law. Fuck around your clap, for running your jaw. If it ain't about the dollars, then it don't make sense. Got me sipping brown water, but it ain't from Flint. Trying to chase all this bread, though.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're getting started here soon. Make sure you hit that thumbs up. Go follow Rice. I got the link in the description. Please support his channel and support mine if you're watching on Rice's live stream. Let's go. Let's go.
Stacking my coin, stacking my coin. Stacking my coin, stacking my coin. Bitcoin, Litecoin, Ethereum, cash. Bitcoin, Litecoin, Ethereum, cash.
Smoking on that crippy got me cliff high. Steam pot, heat rock, slingshot. Surfing through the city while them chips rise. Hot boy, do it big time. Element with my summer bay, we booed up. Cali hit the bay, we fly MIA, we pulled up. Sipping on this drink, bitch, I know the way. We juiced up, nigga violate till it's JFK like Jerufa. Coin daddy bout them chips, nigga, rap snacks. Face all in a box, nigga, Snapchat. Fucking with the ops to get you clapped. No cap, nigga, rap.
Hulk Hogan, we coming for you, nigga.
This episode is brought to you by FairDesk, a crypto derivatives trading platform founded by 6 former Binance execs and 3 former Morgan Stanley architects. FairDesk is a company focused on building a platform that enables traders to profit from both rising and falling markets. Sign up today and CB will credit you up to $600 in trading funds. For more information, visit fairdesk.com, link in the description below.
Since I was born, been stacking my coin. These niggas pop, my money keep growing. Your girl is a dot, she all on my groin. She blowing my horn, we fuck like porn. These rappers is whack, they lyrics are corn. I'm getting this money, it never get born. I'm loading my strap, they calling the law. Fuck around your clap, for running your jaw.
Fuck it. Do it live. I'll write it and we'll do it live.
Okay. Ready?
Fucking thing sucks. We'll do it live.
We'll do it live. It's your boy Crypto Blood and Rice Blood in the house.
Rice Blood. What's going on, my friend?
Rice Crip. Are you a Crip or are you a Blood there, buddy? Huh?
Well, are you both? Are you both?
I'm both. I'm Barney. I'm red and blue.
I'm purple. I told you I'm purple.
What's going on, brother? How are you?
Doing well, man. Aside from being a little under the weather.
Yep.
Yeah, I really didn't even really want to do this live stream, but I'm forcing myself, like I was forcing myself not to lay in bed yesterday. So appreciate everybody taking the time to tune in. I mean, either way, I was going to be trying to pay attention to what the Federal Reserve is going to be doing today, because so much rides on what Jerome Powell and crew decides to do with the interest rates, whether they're going to raise the interest rates, keep them where they are, lower them. Obviously, we don't see them raising. I see a pause continuing.
How do you feel about what Wisdom Bar said here? Fed ain't deciding shit. They can barely decide fiat's fate.
Well, unfortunately, I mean, if crypto and Bitcoin wasn't so correlated to the dollar, then I would agree with that. But
right,
it's correlated.
Unfortunately,
whether the Fed knows what they're doing or not. And here's the thing, you know, a lot of people have predicted that this pyramid scheme of the dollar was going to come to an end a lot sooner than we're seeing. And with what's going on, they can continue this pyramid scheme going longer. So maybe they do know what they're doing and they just are playing dumb and want people to think they don't know what they're doing, when in fact what they're doing is devaluing the dollar, becoming the buyer and lender of last resort, and getting it down to the few chosen banks with the consolidation that's going on.
I really think we give them too much credit. I'm just going to be honest with you. I literally think they don't know what the hell they're doing, Rice. And they're just trying to keep the optics as though they do know. If you think about it, you look at the Federal Reserve, you look at all these doctorate, PhD economists that reside in the glass house of the FOMC, they are wrong. I don't know if you've seen these numbers, but they're wrong like 90% of the time, 85% of the time they're wrong. So
yeah, but they're manipulating the numbers as well. I mean, they're changing what decides how the numbers come out, how you compute the numbers. They've taken off like the M2 money supply. I mean, they've done a variety of different things to kind of, like I was telling you before we started live streaming, 2 words keep coming up constantly, especially the more and more I am seeing what is happening around the world. And
wait, can I guess? Can I try to guess?
Well, I told you what they were. You heard them earlier.
Can I guess?
It's okay. Go ahead.
Civil War?
No. No, but it's almost jerry rigged. It's a rigged game, man. Rigged game. That's what this thing has come down to. You know, and like I was telling you, you can't win a rigged game. You said you got to take over the game. I say we got to end the game and start a new one. It's this game. This game is so far beyond corrupt.
Yeah. Go follow Rice, guys. Before we get into the details of today's live stream, we've got FOMC, as you guys saw in the thumbnail. We'll be watching the numbers and seeing what's going on. We'll also watch the Jerome Powell speech that he does at 2:30. But before that, go follow Rice. Okay.
If you guys are watching on my side, on the right side, make sure you guys are following Blood as well. Links are down in the video description.
That's right. So let's go ahead and get over to the live stream, Rice, on CNBC and see what they're talking about.
Cool. What do you think is going to happen today while we're doing that?
I think a pause.
Just continuing
year basis. But I think the bottom line is growth is just too strong to allow for an early easing. And I think Jay Powell will push back on the idea of a March easing in the press conference. That's really what I think he's going to aim to do.
Wow, okay. Jim, you've got a minute. Share your thoughts here ahead of the decision.
Yeah, so I come from the angle that the Fed has a strong desire to want to start cutting interest rates at this time. They probably want to cut by at least 100 basis points this year, in my opinion. So what I'm going to be listening for is what is it that they're going to try to pick out to try to open this door. We think they're
taking an opportunity to smash that like button.
Yes, sir.
Criteria is, and I'm really trying to benchmark this. So that's going to be the key factor that I look for.
All right, fair enough. Let's get a quick check here on the markets before we get to Steve Leisman. See where we are just moments ahead of the decision. The NASDAQ, again, is the laggard of the session here. We have seen that continue to be the case here, although maybe the S&P 500 is clawing back just a little, though. About bang on flat for the Dow.
It's just about flat. This is pretty much the holding pattern. And Microsoft and Alphabet aside, you would be seeing probably much more of that holding pattern as well. So keep an eye on that. Again, the Fed decision is imminent. The Dow is pretty much flat. Let's get right on to Steve Leisman for that big rate decision. Steve.
Federal Reserve leaving rates unchanged at 5.25% to 5.5%, but making big changes to the statement. The statement twice mentions the possibility of changing the funds rate, setting out the circumstances for those rate cuts that maybe are nebulous, but maybe even a bit hawkish, depends on where you come from. I want to read you the statement that says here, the committee does not expect it will be appropriate to reduce the target range until it has gained greater confidence that inflation is moving sustainably towards 2%. It later says inflation has eased, but that it remains elevated. So it's saying the committee will only cut rates when it's confident inflation is moving to the 2% target. No mention in the statement of whether it has that confidence. The statement also says, quote, in considering any adjustments to the target range for the federal funds rate, the committee will carefully assess incoming data, the evolving outlook, and the balance of risks. The committee removed that bias that was in there for hiking, where it talked about additional firming. That's no longer in the statement. The risks to achieving its dual mandate, the Fed says, quote, are moving into better balance. On the economy, there was an upgrade saying it's expanding at a solid pace, had said it was slowing in the prior statement. Job gains, it says, has moderated but remains strong. And it removed the section on concerns about the impact of tightening credit conditions. That's gone from the statement. It also removed the section on accounting for prior tightening and monetary lags. It was a unanimous decision with new voters Barkin, Daly, and Bostic and Mester voting as well.
Right
so cuts, guys, are obviously in play, but the Fed at best is not telegraphing any timing around it or
What
amount.
do you say, Rice?
And you can
what do you think about what A1 just said?
Later than the markets now expect.
Which one?
Comment that you had pulled up about closer to the election.
Oh yeah. No, they got to start before the election, right? They have to prime it. It can't just come a month or two before the election because it takes some time for it to.
So the election's in early November, right?
Right.
So when do you think we're going to see
the next? When is the next meeting?
I think we have one in March, and then I think we have one end of April. I can pull up the schedule here in just a moment.
Pull up the schedule. Now the issue is, I thought next meeting they would. However, as we heard on the CNBC stream, the language has changed a little bit. And they're like, nah, we got to really watch this inflation number. We might not be hiking next meeting. And if that's the case, Rice, the markets are going to be in trouble. We're going to see a pullback because the markets are looking for literally, I think, 3 to 4 interest rate cuts this year. That's what they're pricing in.
Right.
So.
But when are they pricing it in for? That's the thing. That's the question.
What are they pricing it in for?
When are they pricing it in for?
I have to look at their.
So we have March 19th and 20th, April 30th, and May 1st, then June 11th and 12th, July, September, and then another one in November and December.
So, hearing the verbiage today, Rice, I think that we won't get a hike next meeting, but the following one. So that will put us when?
So the May one, May 1st?
May is what
End of April, beginning of May.
Yeah.
So this right here comes from the Reuters poll. When will the Federal Reserve start cutting rates? And the interesting thing about the way that they did this, and let's see if I can enlarge it. That's way too much. Okay, so the way that they did it was the orange is a current poll and the blue is a December poll. So you're seeing 13% for March in the current poll as far as cutting the rates and 9% with the December poll. And the most, as you can see, would be June. You got 25% from the current poll saying May with 11% from the December poll. For June, it's showing 44% with the current poll with 29% with the December poll. July is a little bit less. So a lot of people based off this poll are thinking it's going to happen in June. Now, if you think about the lagging effect of and the elections being in November, June, July, August, September, October, that's what, 6 months, 5-6 months before the election. So that kind of makes sense. Yeah. If they're going to do it. But then again, we have a lot of people are thinking it's going to be in May because of that repo repurchase program, the stuff that we had talked about on a previous show about what Arthur Hayes had mentioned. And
yes, and we're going to talk about a bank that's in trouble right now out of New York, right?
Mr. X, yes, these are blue light glasses. They're just not the tinted ones that I wear. But they are blue light because this fucking computer screen kills my eyes. I don't know about you.
Yeah, no, it does, man. Where are my glasses? I don't know where.
I got blue light reading glasses because I'm getting old, so I got 1.5s. I got these glasses, which you can actually see my eyes. The other ones.
Here you go. This a blue block a lot of shit. What about this one, Rice?
The other ones, man, you can't even like. It captures like it's supposed to be reflect like an anti-glare, but it obviously is not anti-glare because you can see the monitor right in front of me. If I put these other ones on, which aren't tinted, it's not as bad. So, or it doesn't feel as bad.
You can see my whole world view from my glasses. Is
yeah, you can
all the way back to you, baby.
I mean, dude, it's interesting times that we live in for sure.
We had a good conversation before going live, man. This shit is getting out of hand.
So, dude, it's getting way out of hand.
It's getting out of hand.
And I think the things that where this is leading is a conversation that we do not need to have on YouTube. So we need to figure out a time. Maybe next couple of days, potentially Saturday, we could do something if you're available and just kind of do a stream of thought and kind of get our feelings, kind of get some stuff off our back and explain like where our head's at.
Right,
because there's a lot going on.
Yeah, I told you where my stance is and what I think the solution is at this point. Yeah, it's too hot for YouTube. Too hot for YouTube. We got to definitely do one.
I mean, you mentioned it with the CW earlier. That's a portion of it. If people want to kind of get an idea of like what we're talking about. But if you look at what happened in the previous time of a CW, you had a division of a north and south element, kind of a line, a geographical point.
You made a good
Whereas
point
now,
this time.
now kinetically, if we were to have a CW 1776.2.0, it could be your neighbors that you might consider to be your enemy. It's not that geographical line of division saying this side feels like this and this side feels like this. It's just everybody's mixed in.
Very true.
That's where I think a kinetic situation would be.
The thing here's where we could see some coalescing of ideology is you see how you have a select number of states that are supporting Texas border.
Yeah.
Right. You could see a state by state situation potentially where a state, goes left and then another state goes right. And that's kind of the borderline. And you just like, if you come in this territory with that shit, it's going down.
I'm going to pull up another screen share here because somebody said something. And if you could pull up anything for clicks, and then I want to pull this up. It's actually coming in April, my friend. Do you want to be technical? April 12th. April 12th, which April 8th is the total solar eclipse, if I'm not mistaken. I think it's April 8th.
Wow.
So yeah. So this is coming out. It's a movie, and if we talk about predictive programming and just programming in general, I think this is like putting that thought into the consciousness. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I definitely think something like that is coming. It's just not going to be in the way that we think about things, because a lot of the stuff dealing with the W word is not kinetic as much. It's more psychological, and there's a lot more to it than just pew, pew, pew.
I just wonder, man, and I know this is supposed to be FOMC. We're going to get back to that topic once Jerome Powell gets on in about 20 minutes, ladies and gents. So stick around. Also, I got to do this as well. Any super chat I get on my channel is entered into Win Money this Friday.
Shit, I need a super chat you. I'm broke.
Yeah, do that. I'm giving away some money this Friday, and I'll give more details about that tomorrow. But the thing is, bro,
I'm in Gareth Soloway mode.
YouTube premium members are already entered, so you don't have to give any more. I appreciate your support already. We got Rice and Gareth Soloway mode.
10,000 is coming.
Yeah, I was about to say.
I don't know. I haven't watched him recently, so I don't know what he's saying.
Oh man, come on, man. Why are you giving up on my guy Gareth?
I'm not giving up. I haven't really been watching a lot of content lately.
Gotcha.
Honestly.
Mr. X says CW won't happen if Trump revalue the
thing with that, they've been talking about that revaluation for a long time. If there is, it's only going to be nominal. It's not going to be anything that's going to affect people's wealth. It's just going to be a nominal change.
I think there's definitely a CW if Trump loses,
or a CW if Trump doesn't even get to go there.
Yes. Yeah.
Or
those two scenarios.
If what they did to people like JFK Jr., MLK Jr., like those kind of individuals, if something like that was to happen, then yeah, it could potentially result into a CW situation.
Is Trump a junior?
No, but he is a Christ. He is a Christ.
Ooh, thank God. That seems like the juniors get taken out, man.
Yeah, no, I don't think it was. He's definitely not a junior.
Bedridden says.
I think his dad's name is Fred.
CW if Trump loses, no way. What does that mean, though? What do you think? I mean, you don't think that the MAGA crew or won't get that upset? Trump needs the CW to clean out the trash. What do you think about that?
No, I mean, this is a weird one because I just don't feel like anybody's really out to save us, and that's what people are kind of have this savior syndrome with Trump. And I'm not one of those people. I don't believe that these people. Donald Trump didn't do anything in his first fucking 4 years to change the shit. Well, how is he going to do something different now? If anything, it's just going to be more of a personal vendetta against everybody who's attacked him.
Wait a minute.
And I'm not real keen on the idea of saying that you'd be a dictator for a day either.
So you don't think Trump did anything significant?
I'm not saying he didn't do anything.
No,
but there's a lot more that could have been done.
Of course. But we don't know behind the scenes what roadblocks he ran into. I know he ran into a lot of them.
I just
he didn't know.
We need to stop standing behind politicians, period. We just need to stop getting behind any politician and just like stop supporting that.
Is Trump a politician to you?
He became a politician
when he ran.
That's the way I look at it.
Really?
I mean, he's learned the game. He's totally learned the game. So he's playing the games of politics. It's a game of chess. That's what the fuck's going on.
The reason I think he has, I think he ran into a roadblock in not knowing how deeply corrupt the FBI, the DOJ, CIA, how deeply corrupted they are.
I mean, here's the thing: the Democratic Party has to know that what they're doing is strengthening Donald Trump.
No, man, that's how delusional they are.
I know, but it's not like we've
delusional they are.
We're not quite idiocracy yet. Okay, we're not watering our crops with Gatorade. We're on the verge. We're there, but we're not quite idiocracy. I mean, people just need to wake up as to what's going on. I don't think any of these politicians have any of our best interests. I don't think any of these people running for these positions have our best interests. And the people that do have our best interests, they don't continue to be in our world and in our lives anymore. They get taken out. I mean, that's what we've been seeing throughout history. People that are real threats to the system are no longer in the system. They're taken out.
I've never seen, maybe they've been all thwarted, the attempts on Trump. I've never seen someone attack so much in my life. Never. From
I know, but I mean,
$80 million lawsuit.
There's so much to
York.
it, dude.
Come on, man.
There's a part of me that really wants to root for the guy, but then there's the other part of me is like he's part of the problem, just like all the rest of them. It's just to me, it's people fighting for who's going to get power. I don't see anything changing with any of these politicians. Nothing ever changes. Nobody ever does any of the shit they say they're really going to do. It's always just the same shit. And it goes back to what I was telling you before we live streamed about the Jones plantation. Shout out to Larkin Rose.
Mm-hmm.
Go to Larkin Rose's YouTube channel and look up Jones Plantation. There's a 12-minute animation. He just recently put out a full-length film that was crowdfunded through Indiegogo, I believe. I watched it. I had to reschedule an interview I had with them, schedule it yesterday. I want to be doing it early next week. But they give us this idea that we make these vote, that we can vote who's going to run our country and that they're going to change and do things. But every single president just falls in line with what's going on.
This is why I think Trump is a special Trump card. Because they're trying to not even let you vote for the dude.
Yeah, but all that is still strengthening him too. Again, they got to know that they're making Donald Trump into an invincible force. So it's like I feel like there's an agenda there. They want him in office.
Oh my God! Let us know in the comments,
total
guys,
reverse psychology.
If the
Juan
left
de la Cruz
want him
it's a douche or a turd sandwich. That's your choice. That's what you get to choose from with our selection process. Because again, they select for us who we get to choose to vote for, and then our vote for the president doesn't even actually count. Like, we're the only fucking country that does this thing called Electoral College.
Round of applause to Ronnie.
What do we got here?
Ronnie.
Ronnie's good people.
Male name, but looks real female-ish to me.
She's cool as shit. No, she's very much a female. She lives in Texas.
Oh, so she's not catfishing us?
No.
Oh, round of applause.
No, she's good people.
Hi, Ronnie.
She's what you would call one of them MILFs.
Yes, I can see it through the avatar. Exactly. Trump was already president. All we got was martial law, pandemic, and more money printing. Controlled opposition at best. Man, y'all not giving Trump enough credit, bro. Sorry.
I mean, if you want to go through and tell me all the positive things that Trump has done, I mean, it's like I don't want to go through like all those different.
I mean,
I'm just saying that
people know if they know, if they don't, they don't.
If Donald Trump came in with the idea that he wanted to do something, that quickly changed.
Yes, I agree.
And I don't feel like it was almost like I was saying to you earlier about that Alex Zek dude. And I want to read this. Let me find it real quick. I'll read it out loud.
Hit that like button, ladies and gents, as he finds that. Go ahead, Rice.
D. Alex Zek. It's Alec with ALEC_ZECK on the X Twitter. Says, I've yet to see one of these presidential candidates address the nature of the birth certificate, Social Security, the Uniform Commercial Code, the War Powers Act, the Maternity Act, the Emergency Banking Act, the Federal Reserve, the DTC, and the truth about the 14th Amendment and U.S. citizenship. Nor have I seen any candidate vow to abolish or severely limit the IRS, CDC, FBI, CIA, NSA, and other anti-freedom three-letter agencies. This tells me what I need to know about whether any of these candidates are actually concerned with freedom and serving the interest of men and women in this country. That sums up how I feel.
Okay.
Frustrated on all levels.
Bitcoin taking a dip now after the news from the FOMC. Looks like it's not liking the fact that more money printing or easy money is not on the way.
Should have been priced in.
Well, remember, yes, I think the pause was priced in, but
I wasn't expecting this because
the language was not priced in.
Oh, we're just talking about 1%. We're still over 43. We were sitting underneath this last night when I went to bed. We were like 42.8, 42.6, something like that.
Juan says Trump supports crypto. That is all I need to know. I have to push back. I don't know if
I don't know that just because he's making money off NFTs doesn't mean he supports crypto.
I wouldn't, Juan. I personally wouldn't say that part. You know, at the end of the day, he still is an elitist, and he wants the U.S. dollar because most of his wealth is in U.S. dollars, in fiat. He wants to protect that, but it looks like these niggas taking all his money anyway.
I mean,
so maybe he will switch over. He ain't got no money left.
The president has to support the dollar because the dollar is what fuels what we do. So if a president who's the leader of the nation is trashing our currency, that doesn't look good. So I don't see any president coming in and like, if any president, because even someone like JFK Jr., he wasn't anti-fiat. He was just pro-crypto. So there's a difference. It's not like he's trying to undermine the dollar.
Yeah.
Trump could have exposed the GGSs when he was in office, but that would make wake too many people up fast, in my opinion. Now, I feel like the censorship is going to start ramping back up. If it's, I feel like it kind of already is, which is why I'm being really cautious about words that we're using if we're streaming on YouTube. We got to appease the masters.
Yeah, Trump won. I'm with the.
Now, shout out to Rumble though. I've been seeing Rumble commercials on YouTube.
Really?
In addition to those scam commercials, like the fake Brad Garlinghouse, the fake Michael Saylor, the fake Vitalik Buterin.
The reason you're seeing that, Rice, is because by law, YouTube can't block Rumble from promoting on their platform. That's an antitrust situation. So there are some guidelines on that.
Well, I'm just looking forward to seeing the YouTube ads on Rumble.
Hey, never.
D Fuentes 420, man. It's always 420. I like to show love to the 420s.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And if you guys haven't shown us any love by smashing that like button, we greatly appreciate it.
Please.
Is Sure Powell talking yet?
Not yet. We got a little bit more time. Smack that thumbs up, ladies and gents, while we kind of buffer for 2:30 as Jerome Powell comes up to give us the double speak that he loves to do.
Who put Jerome Powell in his position?
Trump? No.
Yeah. I think it was under Trump. I think it was
under Trump. It was under Trump.
Pretty sure it was under Trump.
Yeah.
Because Clayton did the case against XRP and then stepped down like the next day or something.
Yeah. And he, what's his name? Jerome Powell is technically a Republican, but he's more of the rhino variety. Those I don't really appreciate or like. But
what is 151 saying?
151 CB, next time at Chris's house, I can drive up. Okay, round of applause.
Wait, Chris, is that one of your guys' friends?
No.
What is this? I'm confused by that.
Nigga,
is you talking about me?
Rice is sick, y'all. He needs to get some more rest. He doesn't understand what's going on. Yeah, he's saying if next time I go up to your house, he'll drive up and meet us.
Word. I was actually noticed. It's weird he brought that up because I think it was yesterday. I saw on my Facebook that it was a year ago yesterday.
That I came through.
Yeah, so it would have been January. Now, does this sound right to you? January of 23.
Yeah, I don't remember.
I think I posted it on my
my
Instagram.
thing with Trump, man, to kind of summarize that part, because we got some other things we want to talk about after the conference at 2:30 with Jerome Powell. I just think that
it was January 30th.
That's crazy. Wow.
Let me get that. You can see there. That's the picture right there.
Yeah, that's crazy. Yeah, I remember that day.
I'm wearing the same sweatpants right now. That's crazy.
Is the weather the same? It was pretty warm that day.
No, I mean it's 49 degrees. I don't know if you call that warm. I guess it's warmer than it's been.
Yes, sir. So look, as far as Trump, bro, just to summarize my standpoint, I like Trump. I like his policies. I like he's different. I like that he's not a rhino. I like that he's not a Democrat. He's really an independent, but he's running under the Republican card, in my opinion. Remember, he ran independent the first go round. A lot of people forget that. Not first go round. I'm saying back in what? When did he first try to run? Before the 2016 presidential election, he tried to run. He tried to run independent.
Who, Trump did?
Yes.
I don't remember. I thought 2016 was his first run.
Nope.
Okay.
Nope. But at the end of the day, I kind of agree partially with a lot of you in the comments. Is not going to change anything. Him getting back in, even if he does some crazy executive orders that shut down all these agencies, he's only got 4 years.
Yeah, and
the show will resume.
It'll cause more division. It'll cause a lot more. I mean, it's more divided. What we need is somebody that's going to bring the country together.
Can't. I think we're too far gone. Do you
That's
know
sad
of anyone
that?
It is very sad. Rice, you and I have not met, but have chat on your channels. All right, round of applause for 151.
Yeah, I was asking if he's an NC or just close to it. It's melting +4 in Canada. It's always freezing in Canada.
Yeah, it is. When was the country ever together?
That's a good one too, because I mean, it was only like 3 or 4% of the population that started the revolution, and then as it progressed, more people got involved because of the threat of them losing what they had, because of the rebellion. So even then, it wasn't 100% united. And then within 100 years, we had a civil war. So good question. When have we ever been united?
KLB says, it's sad you think that, Blood, and think Trump will.
I mean,
no, I don't think Trump will be able to do anything long term, long lasting.
Now, in theory, let's say Trump really was, having our best interest. If he was to choose the right VP candidate that could potentially continue on what Trump is, like the agenda, like someone like Vivek, for example. Like you build up this VP to the point that whenever you're stepping down, you endorse this guy to become president. so you can continue on with that idea. So that would be only if he's really got our true best interest at heart, though. And it's like now it's a political game of choosing the VP. It's not even like what's in the best interest of the country. It's like what's going to get me more votes, which isn't the best interest of the country. Like,
you think Trump's? I think he's pretty
like I think he's already like I'm not necessarily a Vivek fan. I'm not just using him as an example, but I think he's already dismissed that factor. I think that I think I had heard something about when RFK Jr. was talking about running before he actually started running. There was some talks between the Trump camp and his camp, but nothing.
So
really
I do know that Trump slipped up and said he, referring to the VP candidate that he's going to go with. So it won't be a Carrie Lake. It won't be a what's the girl, the hot girl on the left? She's kind of gone away from the Democratic Party though. She's Native American. God, what's her name?
You got me.
She's got the.
You talking about the chick from Hawaii?
Yeah, she's got the silver streak.
Yeah.
In her hair.
Why am I drawing a blank? Tulsi Gabbard.
Tulsi. I don't. So it won't be them two.
Was she? I think she was in Hawaii.
Yeah, I think so.
Like a representative in Hawaii.
Yeah,
I'm not personally going to expatriate. Expatriation is
I saw that.
That's a crazy process, and you still have to pay tax. You technically would have to pay taxes and stuff for like X amount of time. So it's not like a clear. This is why I studied the law stuff and looked into things like the right of self-determination. There's a lot of things that I'm going to be re-exploring on my other channel, Rights Against the Grain, because what I'm going to be doing is putting more time into that and less time into this shit. Yeah. I hate crypto.
Money Match Gaming said, I respect y'all don't agree on everything, but listen to each other. Not enough people that do that. Round of applause to that, man. Absolutely. We need more of this. We need
and you were talking earlier about being a family man, and I consider you family, man. We're both we're close to each other, and we don't agree on everything, but we can respect each other's opinions and learn from one another. And I think we may have potentially changed each other's minds at some point throughout our interactions.
Right. Trading the news. We'll take a look at the trades here in a little bit.
Where's Jerome out? It's 2:30.
It's 2:30. All right, so let's go ahead and get back over to the live stream and see what this sucker fool is talking about right now.
To specify about the crypto thing too, it's not that I hate crypto. I hate the direction of where everything is headed.
We'll talk further about that. I'm right there with you, literally.
This love for Solana and central bank digital currencies and ETFs and BlackRock. Yeah, I want to throw up.
Yeah, I want everyone to go watch Rice's interview with what's my man Amir
Taki. Yeah, and look, both parts together still haven't had 1,000 views. Or no, actually, I think they've had a little over 1,000 views total.
Please go watch that.
Probably one of the most important interviews I've done with like somebody in the crypto. Actually, it is the most important interview I've done with somebody in the crypto space. This dude is like complete OG, and I was
one of the first 5 devs on Bitcoin, ladies and gentlemen.
And he created the Bitcoin improvement proposal process. He's communicated with Satoshi. Something that I asked him just recently. And let me pull this up. Okay, so I asked him, what are your thoughts on Atom Back and Blockstream? And he says, no thoughts really. I'm out of Bitcoin.
Damn, there you go.
Does that tell you something?
That tells you something.
One of the first 5 developers
is out of Bitcoin.
Who's created who rewrote what he called the sloppy code of Satoshi, put it in a more efficient manner, has a website. It's LIBBITCOIN, like lib Bitcoin, but one word, or libitcoin. And it's a library for C++ developers for Bitcoin.
Good afternoon.
Over to Jerome Powell.
My colleagues and I remain squarely focused on our dual mandate to promote maximum employment and stable prices for the American people. The economy has made good progress toward our dual mandate objectives. Inflation has eased from its highs without a significant increase in unemployment. That's very good news. But inflation is still too high, ongoing progress in bringing it down is not assured, and the path forward is uncertain. I want to assure the American people
that we are fully committed to returning inflation to our 2% goal. Restoring price stability is essential to achieve a sustained period of strong labor market conditions that benefit all. Today, the FOMC decided to leave our policy interest rate unchanged and to continue to reduce our securities holdings. Over the past 2 years, we have significantly tightened the stance of monetary policy. Our strong actions have moved our policy rate well into restrictive territory, and we've been seeing the effects on economic activity and inflation. As labor market tightness has eased and progress on inflation has continued, the risks to achieving our employment and inflation goals are moving into better balance. I will have more to say about monetary policy after briefly reviewing economic developments. Recent indicators suggest that economic activity has been expanding at a solid pace. GDP growth in the fourth quarter of last year came in at 3.3%. For 2023 as a whole, GDP expanded at 3.1%, bolstered by strong consumer demand as well as improving supply conditions. Activity in the housing sector was subdued over the past year, largely reflecting high mortgage rates. High interest rates also appear to have been weighing on business fixed investment. The labor market remains tight, but supply and demand conditions continue to come into better balance. Over the past 3 months, payroll job gains averaged 165,000 jobs per month, a pace that is well below that seen a year ago, but still strong. The unemployment rate remains low at 3.7%. Strong job creation has been accompanied by an increase in the supply of workers. The labor force participation rate has moved up on balance over the past year, particularly for individuals aged 25 to 54 years, and immigration has returned to pre-pandemic levels. Nominal wage growth has been easing and job vacancies have declined. Although the jobs to workers gap has narrowed, labor demand still exceeds the supply of available workers. Inflation has eased notably over the past year, but remains above our longer run goal of 2%. Total PCE prices rose 2.6% over the 12 months ending in December. Excluding the volatile food and energy categories, core PCE prices rose 2.9%. The lower inflation readings over the second half of last year are welcome, but we will need to see continuing evidence to build confidence that inflation is moving down sustainably toward our goal. Longer-term inflation expectations appear to remain well anchored, as reflected in a broad range of surveys of households, businesses, and forecasters, as well as measures from financial markets. The Fed's monetary policy actions are guided by our mandate to promote maximum employment and stable prices for the American people. My colleagues and I are acutely aware that high inflation imposes significant hardship as it erodes purchasing power, especially for those least able to meet the higher costs of essentials like food, housing, and transportation. We're highly attentive to the risks that high inflation poses to both sides of our mandate, and we're strongly committed to returning inflation to our 2% objective. Over the past 2 years, we have raised our policy rate by 5.25 percentage points, and we've decreased our securities holdings by more than $1.3 trillion. Our restrictive stance of monetary policy is putting downward pressure on economic activity and inflation. The committee decided at today's meeting to maintain the target range for the federal funds rate at 5.25 to 5.5%, and to continue the process of significantly reducing our securities holdings.
He doesn't sound like he wants to be there.
Our policy rate is likely at its peak for this tightening cycle, and that
he
if the economy evolves broadly as expected, it will likely be appropriate to begin dialing back policy restraint at some point this year.
No emotion.
But the economy has surprised forecasters in many ways since the pandemic, and ongoing progress toward our 2% inflation objective is not assured. The economic outlook is uncertain, and we remain highly attentive to inflation risks. We are prepared to maintain the current target range for the federal funds rate for longer, if appropriate. As labor market tightness has eased and progress on inflation has continued, the risks to achieving our employment and inflation goals are moving into better balance. We know that reducing policy restraint too soon or too much could result in a reversal of the progress we've seen on inflation
money match
and
gaming.
ultimately require even tighter policy to get inflation back to 2%. At the same time, reducing policy restraint too late or too little could unduly weaken economic activity and employment. In considering any adjustments to the target range for the federal funds rate, the committee will carefully assess the incoming data, the evolving outlook, and the balance of risks. The committee does not expect that it will be appropriate to reduce the target range until it has gained greater confidence that inflation is moving sustainably toward 2%. We will continue to make our decisions meeting by meeting. We remain committed to bringing inflation back down to our 2% goal and to keeping longer-term inflation expectations well anchored. Restoring price stability is essential to set the stage for achieving maximum employment and stable prices over the longer run. To conclude, we understand that our actions affect communities, families, and businesses across the country. Everything we do is in service to our public mission. We at the Fed will do everything we can to achieve our maximum employment and price stability goals. Thank you. I look forward to our questions.
We care about you. We're the Federal Reserve. We're your servants.
Gina Smiley from the New York Times. Thanks for taking our questions. Obviously, in the statement,
Becky with the mic.
Remarks there, you note that you don't want to cut interest rates without greater confidence that inflation is coming down fully. I wonder, what do you need to see at this point to gain that confidence? And as you make those decisions, how are you weighing recent strong growth in consumer spending data against the sort of solid inflation progress you've been seeing?
Sorry, say that last part again.
How are you weighing the growth data and consumption data, which has been surprisingly strong, against inflation data?
I know you heard it, Jerome.
So what are we looking for to get greater confidence? Let me say that we have confidence. We're looking for greater confidence that inflation is moving sustainably down to 2%. Implicitly, we do have confidence and has been increasing, but we want to get greater confidence. What do we want to see? We want to see more good data. It's not that we're looking for
proof,
better data. We're looking at continuation of the good data that we've been seeing. And a good example is inflation. So we have 6 months of good inflation data. The question really is, that 6 months of good inflation data, is it sending us a true signal that we are in fact on a path, sustainable path down to 2% inflation? That's the question. And the answer will come from some more data that's also good data. It's not that the 6 month data isn't low enough. It is. It's just a question of, can we take that with confidence that we're moving sustainably down to 2%? That's really what we're thinking about. In terms of growth, we've had strong growth. If you take a step back, we've had strong growth, very strong growth last year, going right into the fourth quarter. And yet we've had a very strong labor market, and we've had inflation coming down. So I think, whereas a year ago we were thinking that we needed to see some softening in economic activity, that hasn't been the case. So I think we look at stronger growth. We don't look at it as a problem. I think at this point we want to see strong growth. We want to see a strong labor market. We're not looking for a weaker labor market. We're looking for inflation to continue to come down as it has been coming down for the last 6 months.
And I'm sorry, if I could just follow up very quickly. When you say that you want to make sure that it's a true signal, is there anything that you're seeing in the data that makes you doubt that it's a true signal at this stage?
No, I think I would say it seems to be the likely case that we will achieve that confidence, but we have to achieve it, and we haven't yet. And so,
if anybody was smoking his stash,
I mean, it's a good story. We have 6 months of good inflation, but you can, and you know this, you can look behind those numbers and you can see that a lot of it's been coming from goods inflation, for example, and goods inflation running significantly negative. It's a reasonable assumption that over time, goods inflation will flatten out, probably approximate zero. That would mean the services sectors would have to contribute more. So, in other words, what we care about is the aggregate number, not so much the composition, but we just need to see more. That's where we are as a committee. We need to see more evidence that sort of confirms what we think we're seeing, and that tells us that we are gives us confidence that we're on a path to a sustainable path down to 2% inflation.
Nick Timros of the Wall Street Journal. Chair Powell, it seems to me you raised rates rapidly over the last 2 years for two reasons. One,
we don't need to see
was the risk of a wage price spiral. Two,
not at all.
There were risks of inflation expectations
Put a lapel on that guy,
unanked.
buddy.
This morning's ECI report for the fourth quarter shows private sector payroll growth running at a sub 4% pace. Inflation expectations are very close to where they
He's actually a good one. He asks really good questions, right?
years, and given that you appear to have substantially cut off these two tail risks, and that you've judged here today current policy is well into restrictive territory, what good reason is there to keep policy rates above 5%? Are you really going to learn more waiting 6 weeks versus 3 months from now that you have avoided those two risks?
Good question. Got him there.
As you know,
come on, buddy, get it out, Jerome.
Almost every participant on the committee does believe that it will be appropriate to reduce rates, and for partly for the reasons that you say. You know, we feel like inflation is coming down. Growth has been strong. The labor market is strong. What we're trying to do is identify a place where we're really confident about inflation getting back down to 2%, so that we can then begin the process of dialing back the restrictive level. So overall, I think people do believe, and as you know, the median participant wrote down 3 rate cuts this year. But I think to get to that place where we feel comfortable starting the process, we need some confirmation that inflation is in fact coming down sustainably to 2%.
If I could ask differently,
7 meetings
if you hold rates high as inflation moderates, as it has been, target rates will exceed the prescriptions of the Taylor rule or experience. What would be the reasoning for holding rates higher than the levels recommended by those rules in the current instance?
Well, I think, as you know, we consult a range of Taylor rules and non-Taylor kind of rules. We consult them regularly. They're in our teal book, and they're in all the materials that we look at. But, you know, I don't think we've ever been at a place where we were setting policy by them. And they're, depending on the rule, it will tell you different things. There are many different formulations. Another way to think about it is implicitly is so in theory, of course, real rates go up if holding all else equal as inflation comes down. But that doesn't mean we can mechanically adjust policy as real rates, as inflation comes down. It doesn't mean that at all, because for one thing, we don't know. We look at more than just the Fed funds rate. We look at broadly financial conditions. But in addition, we don't know with great confidence where the neutral rate of interest is at any given time. But that also doesn't mean that we wait around to see the economy turn down, because that will be too late. So we're really in a risk management mode of managing the risk, as I mentioned in my opening remarks, managing the risk that we move too soon and move too late. And I think to move, which is where almost everyone on the committee is in favor of moving rates down this year. But the timing of that is going to be linked to our gaining confidence that inflation is on a sustainable path down to 2%.
Howard. Hi, thanks, Chair Powell. I'd like you to key in on the use of the word in the statement that inflation still remains elevated. You've pledged to cut rates before inflation reached 2%. So that implies that there's some sort of intermediate step here on inflation, and that a cut would be consequent with a change in the statement language that inflation remains elevated. What's the step down from there?
Yeah, I don't know that we've worked out the particular statement language and that kind of thing. I would just say, you look at where 12-month inflation is, and it's still well above. Core is 2.9%, for example, 12 months, which is way down from where it was. Very, very positive development, very fast decline, and the case is likely that it will continue to come down. So that's where it is. But we're wanting to see more data.
So if I could follow up on that, the statement allows that you want greater confidence on inflation falling before you cut, but it doesn't mention the other side of the mandate, a slide in employment. Would a slide in employment also bring you to the point of cutting rates?
Yes. So let me say that we're not looking for that. That's not something we're looking for. But yes, if you think about, in the base case, the economy is performing well, the labor market remains strong. If we saw an unexpected weakening certainly in the labor market, that would certainly weigh on cutting sooner. Absolutely. And if we saw inflation being stickier or higher or those sorts of things, would argue for moving later. In the base case, though, where the economy is healthy and we have as you know, we have ongoing growth, solid growth. We have a strong labor market. We have inflation coming down. That's what people are writing their SEP around. And in that case, what we're saying is, based on that, we think we can and should take advantage of that and be careful as we approach that question of when to begin to dial back restriction.
Claire Jones, Financial Times. Just to circle back to the greater confidence aspect of the statement, there's been a lot of unanimity in recent meetings. I'm just wondering, going forward, when it comes to all needing greater confidence, is the unanimity, or at least consensus among FOMC members,
Andy,
about what the threshold for that
100%
greater
correct.
confidence is? And if not, could you maybe tell us a little bit about the discussion today on what the variations between FOMC members was on what constitutes enough confidence to cut rates, and also if there was any variation on how quickly
you can tell by the way she's holding that mic.
Greater confidence threshold could be reached. Thank
So
you.
we're not really at that stage.
She's all
There was no proposal to cut rates. Some people did, talk about their view of the rate path. I would point you to the SEP as good evidence of where people are, although it is one cycle later. So, we're not at a place of really working out those kinds of details because we weren't actively considering,
Nobody's asking about the bank term funding
federal funds
program
rate
thing that we
down.
talked about.
I will say there is a
we're gonna
wide
talk about
disparity,
that, though.
a healthy disparity of views,
It's ending soon.
and you
Let's
see
see
that
if someone
in
does.
public statements, in the minutes, and the transcripts when they're released every 5 years. So we do have a healthy set of differences, and I think that's actually essential for making good policy. We're also able to reach agreement generally because we listen to each other, we compromise, and even though not everybody loves what we do, they're able to, for the most part, able to join in. And to me, that's a well-functioning public institution.
Not everyone loves what we do. No, everyone hates what you do, Jerome.
Hi, Chair Powell, Rachel Siegel from the Washington Post. Thanks for taking our questions. So over the past few years, there have been all these real-time indicators that helped us gain a sharper understanding of where the economy was, like open table data or office attendance.
doesn't like
You've
holding
talked
that
about
mic.
vacancies in the past.
Not at all.
And I'm wondering at the start of this year, what might be on that dashboard for you that's giving you the clearest picture of the economy, including on rents, if you could touch on
She's
that.
a scissor sister.
Including
Rent costs.
Yeah. Well, so we're not, it's not the pandemic, so we can actually rely on more traditional forms. People are working, they're getting wages, and the economy is largely reopened and is broadly normalizing, as you see. So I wouldn't say we're looking at that sort of more innovative data as much. You point to rent, so of course we follow the components of inflation very carefully, which would be goods inflation. I talked about that a little bit. You mentioned housing inflation, so the question is, when will these lower market rents find their way into measured rents as measured in PCE inflation? And we think that's coming, and we know it's coming. It's just a question of when and how big it'll be. So, but that's in everyone's forecast, I would say. So that will help. But at the same time, we think goods inflation will probably, it's been giving a lot of disinflation to the effort, and probably that declines over time. But it may well have some more time to run. The supply chains are not perfectly back to where they were. In addition, it takes time for the healing process to get into prices. So there may be still a tailwind. We'll find out with that. So we look at the things that relate to our mandate very carefully, and as you would imagine.
I guess just as a quick follow-up, do you feel comfortable at this point saying the economy has reached a soft landing, or is that part of looking for more confidence?
No, I wouldn't say we've achieved that, and I think we have a ways to go. Inflation is still, core inflation is still well above target on a 12-month basis. 12 months is our target. Certainly, I'm encouraged, and we're encouraged by the progress, but we're not declaring victory at all at this point. We think we have a ways to go.
Steve.
That's an understatement. I mean, these guys screwed up for so long, and then they want to raise interest rates like they did.
You said that you would know the neutral rate by its works. So I'm wondering what you could tell me. How do you believe the neutral rate is working? We're telling you right now that growth is stronger. In other words, how much is the economy really being restrained right now?
It's a good name for an economic reporter.
And how much restraint does it really need additionally?
It's a good name for any
if inflation
reporter.
is still coming down.
Every report is to change your name.
I think you do see in the interest-sensitive parts of the economy, you do see, for example, housing. You see the effects. You do. Your second question, though, really, I think, is important, and that is a lot of this has come through, a lot of the disinflationary process has come through the healing of supply chains and also of the labor market. So you've seen that other set of factors is really different from other cycles and has brought that working with tighter policy, which has enabled the supply side to recover, I think is that mixture has been behind what has enabled this. So no, we really do think that we're having an effect broadly across the economy. I would point to the interest sensitive parts of the economy as well as spending generally. But it's a joint story. It's a complicated story.
But how much restraint are you actually imparting to the economy, would you say, relative to the neutral rate?
I think it's of course, you know that it's not something you can identify with any precision. But
what's the point of the
standard approach would be to take the nominal rate, 5.3%, let's say, and subtract sort of a forward measure of inflation. If you do that, there are many ways to calculate that neutral rate, but that's one I like to do. You're going to get to something that is materially above mainstream estimates of neutrality, of the neutral rate. You will. But at the same time, you look at the economy and you say this is an economy that grew 3.1% last year.
How many people have been saying in the Fed?
And you say, what does that tell you about the neutral rate? What's happening, though, is the supply side has been recovering in the middle of this. So that won't go on forever. So a lot of the growth we're seeing it isn't just a tug of war between interest rates and demand. You're getting, more activity because of labor market healing and supply chains healing. So I think the question is when that peters out, I think the restriction will show up probably more sharply.
Thank you. Sorry. Thanks for taking the question, Mr. Chairman. You mentioned earlier we're not seeking a weaker labor market. I think that you said. Can you talk a little bit more about that? Do you think the labor market now is back to quote unquote normal, and that we can achieve the inflation target without wage gains coming back down to what they were pre-pandemic? Even with today's ECI levels, they were still above those pre-pandemic levels.
I think the labor market by many measures is at or nearing normal, but not totally back to normal. And you pointed to one or more of them. So I think, job openings are not quite back to where they were. Wage increases rather are not quite back to where they would need to be in the longer run. I would look at it this way though. The economy is broadly normalizing, and so is the labor market. And that process will probably take some time. So wage setting is something that happens. It's probably will take a couple of years to get all the way back, and that's okay. That's okay. But we do see. You saw today's ECI reading. The evidence is that that wage increases are still at a healthy level, very healthy level, but they're gradually moving back to levels that would be more associated, given assumptions about productivity, are more typically associated with 2% inflation. It's an ongoing process, a healthy one, and I think we're moving in the right direction.
So that process can continue without a weakening of the labor market, basically, you're saying?
Well, I think the labor market is, I don't know if it's rebalancing. Clearly, there was a
thank you for saying that, because I was just thinking, like,
severe imbalance
every time
between
there's an
demand
FOMC
for
meeting
workers and
coming up,
supply
I'm like,
at the beginning of the
let's
pandemic.
do a live stream.
So we lost several million workers at the beginning of the pandemic from people dropping out of the labor force.
Why am I
and then when the
torturing
economy
myself
reopened, you remember
over and over and over again?
2021, you had a severe labor shortage.
I don't get
it was
I guess I
everywhere.
like to
Panic
inflict
on
self-punishment.
the part of businesses couldn't find people. So what's happened is we expected the labor market to come back quickly, and it didn't. And 2022 was a disappointing year. And, we were kind of thinking, well, maybe we won't get it back. And then 2023, we did, as you know. So labor force participation came back strongly in 23, and so did immigration. Immigration came to a halt during the pandemic. So those two forces have
that's why we
significantly
just
lowered the temperature in the labor market to where it's still a very strong labor market. It's still a good labor market for wages and for finding a job, but it's getting back into balance And that's what we want to see. And, one
the job
great way to look at that is what's
balancing
happening
out.
with,
It's like
with
plenty of
wage
people said
increases.
throughout
And you
this
see it
live
now
chat, there's
across the...
lots of people that have more than one job.
Exactly.
A lot of people.
Yep.
So when you have to have like 2 or 3 part-time jobs to make up for having a full-time job, I mean, that doesn't make the job market better.
The quality of the employment pool is very, very poor.
Very weak.
Very, very poor. Yeah.
Inflation. Thank you.
No, I think that is a risk. The risk that inflation would reaccelerate. I think the greater risk is that it would stabilize at a level meaningfully above 2%. That's to me more likely. Of course, if inflation were to surprise by moving back up, we would have to respond to that, and that would be a surprise at this point. But I have to tell you, that's why we keep our options open here, and why we're not rushing. So I think both of those are risks, but I think the more likely risk is the one that I mentioned, which is you've had 6 good months, very good months, but what's really going to shake out here? What will, when we look back, what will we see? Will inflation have dipped and then come back up? Are the last 6 months flattered by factors that are one-off factors that won't repeat themselves? We don't think so. We don't. That's not what we think. But that's the question we are asking. We have to ask, and we want to get comfort on that.
And just one quick follow-up. Governor Waller had mentioned the revisions that are coming on February 9th for the CPI data. Is that something you're watching as well? And if we see those revisions fairly minor, is that going to give you more confidence where things are going?
We'll just have to see. We'll look at those.
You should go right into a phone booth, change it to a Superman costume, and come back and ask a follow-up question. Let's make this shit entertaining.
Michael McKee, Bloomberg Radio and Television. If you don't want to use the term soft landing, would you say at least that from your point of view now, the other scenario of a hard landing caused by the Fed is off the table, or the risks have diminished very much? And you mentioned below 2% inflation on a 3-month basis. Core PCE has been running at 1.5%. And there are those on Wall Street who think that if you maintain the level of restriction you have right now, you could end up with inflation running below your target. How do you see that?
So your first question, how to describe where we are. So I guess I would just say this. Executive summary would be that growth is solid to strong over the course of last year. The labor market, 3.7% unemployment indicates that the labor market is strong. We've had just about 2 years now of unemployment under 4%. That hasn't happened in 50 years. So it's a good labor market. And we've seen inflation come down. We've talked about that. So we've got 6 months of good inflation data and an expectation that there's more to come. So this is a good situation. Let's be honest. This is a good economy. But what's the outlook? That's looking in the review. The outlook, we do expect growth to moderate. Of course, we have expected it for some time, and it hasn't happened. But we do expect that it will moderate as supply chain and labor market normalization runs its course.
Hunter was smoking.
The labor market is
Janet Yellen said we can afford to
job creation
fund
has slowed. The base of job
Ukraine
growth has narrowed.
And our economy is doing
great. And of course, 12-month inflation is above target and getting down closer to target. It's not guaranteed, but we do seem to be getting on track for that. So those are the risks and questions we have to answer. But overall, this is a pretty good picture. It is a good picture.
You're a fucking idiot.
Your second question was, sorry.
Could you get inflation that is below target, end up with inflation below target, and you have to do something about that?
So the thing is, we're not looking for inflation to tap the 2% base once. We're looking for it to settle out over time at 2%.
It's not crack.
The same thing is true. If we have a month or two of lower, and we have that now, of inflation that's annualized at a lower level, that wouldn't be good. We're not looking to have inflation anchor below 2%. We're looking to have it anchor at 2%. So if we do face those circumstances, then we'll have to deal with it. I think as of now,
literally pick a number and get there.
Question which we want to take advantage of this situation and finish
the whole thing is lies. I mean, that's why I'm saying, like, what politicians do you see saying, like, when's the last time you heard a politician say in the Fed, get rid of the Federal Reserve Charter?
I've heard from some
only one I know is our buddy,
a little premature to think that
Mr. Ron Paul.
Ron Paul. It's the only person I know.
I mean, I'm sure there was people saying it before that, but
that's the only publicly.
You don't see people speaking out against, just like I was reading earlier. You don't see these people talking about ending these alphabet agencies that aren't technically supposed to be funded by the American public at all. They're not in the 19 enumerated powers of the Constitution of the United States. And there's so many things that are happening outside of the Constitution. And we've been doing it for over 100 years in a multitude of ways. And that's where it's like, I'm like, most Americans are high, fat, sick,
and broke.
It's likely
or all the above.
But the broke part is what really controls them, because when you're broke, you don't have time to even think about the minutia, the little things like this. It's big, but it's not when you're talking about paying your bills and
and it allows for control too, because like I don't know how it is in Detroit, but here in like where I live, the Section 8 housing, if there's somebody in the house, let's say a woman has 2-3 children and she's dating a convicted felon who's living in the house, the social services can threaten to have that individual removed or stop paying, allowing them to have Section 8. Same thing with like food stamps and all these different things. I mean, the people who are poor, who are relying on government or who take advantage of government stuff are going to be the obedient ones, because they're the ones who can't afford to not keep getting the free stuff.
So shout out to Charleston White. About a month and a half ago, he brought awareness to a situation that happened in Texas, where a single mother, black single mother of 2 or 3, lived in section, like you said, Section 8 housing down in Texas, and a young guy continued to break into her home. He had done it multiple times. One night he broke in. She was there. It's real late. She got her gun and fired and killed the kid. Killed him. He was in the house. They kicked her out of the home because under Section 8, you're not supposed to have a firearm or something like that. I didn't know that. But to your point, when you take something from the government, there are always strings attached, ladies and gentlemen. Every single time. So
100%.
Crazy.
So this is a really interesting question, and I think my own view is, I think if you look back to the pandemic, you saw a spike in productivity as workers were laid off and activity didn't decline as fast, and then you saw a deep trough of productivity, and then over the last you saw high productivity last year in 23. I think we're basically in the throes of getting through the pandemic economy, and the question will be, what is it that has changed? The productivity tends to be based on fundamental aspects of our economy. Is there a case? Will it be the case that we come out of this more productive, more on a sustained basis? And I don't know. What would it take? It would take, people talk about AI, but my guess is that we may shake out and be back where we were, because I'm not sure I see work from home. Doesn't seem like it's a big productivity increaser. AI, artificial intelligence, generative may be, but probably not in the short run. Probably maybe in the longer run. So I'm not seeing why it would. But right now, I would say the productivity is kind of what falls out of the broader forces that are driving people in and out of the labor force, and activity returning and supply chains getting fixed.
Right. So would that be behind why we've seen such strong growth, but we've also seen inflation fall, that maybe there's just a higher level of productivity?
That's one way to look at it, yeah.
Okay, so the breaking news, Powell don't think the March rate cut is likely based on...
Hi, Chair Powell. Nancy Marshall-Genzer with Marketplace.
I
want to ask a little bit more about housing.
I didn't hear you.
It says the breaking news, Powell don't think March rate cut is likely based on meeting today. Yep. And we've talked a little bit about that.
Exactly.
it's called. It's such a stupid name.
Dot plot.
No, the Bank Term Funding Program.
Yeah. We're going to talk about that.
The BTFP.
Yeah, we're going to talk about that because it's it's ending soon. There's a specific date we want to talk about. Maybe that may be a trigger, a gray swan event, Rice, that we need to watch out for.
Or not.
Bitcoin is starting to head back lower too, by the way. We'll take a look at the chart in a minute.
Pandemic, for example, the housing industry was helped more than any other industry. And when we raise rates, the housing industry can be hurt because it's a very interest-sensitive sector. On top of that, we have longer run problems with the availability of housing. We have a built-up set of cities and people are moving further and further out. So there hasn't been enough housing built. And these are not things that we have any tools to address. But, where it comes into play very specifically in our work is inflation, which is a combination. It's really rental inflation. You're taking owner's equivalent rent and then actual rent paid by tenants, and you're running that through the CPI calculation or the PCE calculation, the one we look at. And what that's telling you is that market rents are increasing at a much lower rate or even being flat, and that will show up in inflation over time. It has to, as long as that remains the case. So.
And just real quick, what is your response to the letter that was sent to you by some members of Congress asking the Fed to lower interest rates to make housing more affordable?
My response is what I started with, which is that our job, the job Congress has given us, is price stability and maximum employment. Price stability is absolutely essential for people's lives. Mostly for people at the lower end of the income spectrum who are living at the edges, at the margins. And so for someone like that, high inflation about in the necessities of life, right away you're in trouble. Whereas even middle class people have some scope to absorb higher costs. So we have to get our job. It's what society has asked us to do, is to get inflation down. And the tools that we use to do it are interest rates. So that's how we think about that.
Courtney.
Wow.
Courtney Brown from Axios. Can you give us some insight into whether the committee discussed the possibility of slowing balance sheet runoff in the months ahead?
Yes. So I would start by saying that balance sheet runoff so far has gone very well. And as the process has continued, we're getting to that time where questions are beginning to come into greater focus about the pace of runoff and all that. So at this meeting, we did have some discussion of the balance sheet, and we're planning to begin in-depth discussions of balance sheet issues at our next meeting in March. So those questions are all coming into scope now, and we're focusing on them. But we're at the beginning of that process, I would say.
Quick follow-up. Is it the case that the Fed would decide to lower rates and make adjustants to the balance sheet runoff in
wisdom
tandem?
bars like sir.
Yes, we do. We see those as independent tools.
Very well,
and so they don't, for example, if you're normalizing policy, you might be reducing rates but continuing to run off the balance sheet. In both cases, that's normalization. But from a strict monetary policy standpoint, you could say we're loosening and one with tightening. So that could happen. It's not something we're planning or thinking about, but right now we're thinking about getting to a place where we're going to see the balance sheet runoff to continue. We're watching it carefully, and as I said, we'll be looking into that as a committee starting in March.
Thanks.
Well, that's another thing I meant to talk about with the presidential elections. We don't need to have old fuckers running for office like we do. We need some younger people at this point. We're voting between two geriatric motherfuckers. I'm not really a fan of that. Well, I'm not voting anyway, so it is what it is. But
8 good months.
It's just geriatric.
You have to be confident.
Yeah, I'm not in a position to put a number on it. I'm just going to say.
No, I didn't get a chance to watch.
And it's not that we don't have any confidence.
Rick and Morty,
we have growing confidence, but not to the point where we feel like it's a highly consequential decision to start the process of dialing back on restriction. And we want to get that right. And we feel like the strong economy, strong labor market, inflation coming down, it gives us the ability to do that. We think that's the best way we can serve the public, because ultimately we've made a lot of progress on inflation. We just want to make sure that we do get the job done in a sustainable way. That's how we're thinking about it. In terms of when that'll be, that'll all come out of our communications. And
the age requirements.
We won't keep that secret.
Hi, Chair Powell. Evan Reiser with M&I Market News. Can you explain a little bit more on what you're considering when tapering QT? Do you need to see the overnight reverse repo facility all the way down to zero, or is it something that you can start with a couple $100 billion there?
Not a decision that we've made, but I wouldn't think we wouldn't be taking a position that it's got to go to zero. I mean, if it were to stabilize at a different level, but that's not a decision that we've made. That's what we'll be talking about at the March meeting. A whole range of issues will be briefed up, and the committee will get into all of the issues that will be arising over the course of the next, let's say, year or so.
Greg. Thanks, Greg Robb from Market Watch. Chair Powell, I want to change gears a little bit. In the presidential primary campaign that's been going on for the last 9 months or so, your name has come up often, and many Republican candidates had said that they probably wouldn't want to give you a third term. So I wanted to give you a chance to talk about that. Do you want another term? You've had on the Fed. What's your stance on that?
I'm ready.
Sure doesn't look like
it. It's not something I'm focused on. Focused on doing our jobs. This year is going to be a highly consequential year for the Fed and for monetary policy, and we're all of us very buckled down, focused on doing our jobs.
I thought you were straight smart, bro. Let's not start crying.
Oh, yeah, we got to talk about that.
Thank you, Chair Powell. Jennifer Schallenberger with Yahoo Finance. As you mentioned, core PCE has been running at 1.9% over the past 6 months. And you guys are actually expecting core inflation higher this year at 2.4% compared to that 6-month measure. Given that forecast and that the median is for 3 rate cuts this year, what happens if inflation stays where it's been over the last 6 months for the next 6 months?
So we'll update our inflation forecasts at the next meeting. You referred to the December meeting. That's 3 months old, so it might be lower now given the data we've gotten. So look, as I mentioned, we're going to be reacting to the data. If we get very strong inflation data and it kicks back up, then we'll go slower or later or both. If we got really good inflation data soon, that would matter for both that would tell us that we could go sooner and perhaps go faster. So we're just going to be but of course we'll weigh that with all the other factors. We're setting policy based on the totality of the data.
But just to follow, if inflation stays where it is currently, that would probably mean that the real interest rate becomes more restrictive. Would that mean you'd have to trim more, perhaps, than you already have factored in?
Well, I think if we came to the view that that the 6-month inflation numbers, which are very close to 2, were in PCE world, if we thought that is really where we're going to be, then yes, our policy would be in a different place. It would. But that's the whole point, is we're trying to get comfortable and gain confidence that inflation is on a sustainable path down to 2% or toward 2%.
Daniel.
Hi, Chair Powell. Daniel Davis, Agence France-Presse. I just wondered if I could get your comment on the recent consumer confidence data. It seems to suggest that consumers are sort of moving towards a much more optimistic view of the economy. I just wonder, is it fair to say that they're moving towards where the Fed appears to have been in recent months? And do you think that inflation and falling inflation perhaps has played a role in that? And what challenges do you see going forward? Thank you.
Yeah, so it's been interesting that confidence surveys have been weak at a time when unemployment has been low, very low, historically low for a couple of years, but nonetheless that's been the case, and we've asked ourselves why that is, and one obvious answer, we don't pretend to have perfect wisdom on this, but one obvious answer is that the price level is high. So prices went up much more than 2% per year for a couple of years, and people are going to the store and they're paying much more for the basics of life than they were 2 years ago, 3 years ago.
Good point, Vision,
and they're not happy about
there's
it.
been
And
a lot
it's
of talk.
fine that inflation's coming down, but their prices are.
Yeah, UPS just slaughtered 1,500 jobs.
Yeah, I think so. But it's been more than just UPS.
I know. I'm just saying that's the most recent one. Yeah, we'll talk about that, man. I'm waiting on this, Rice. We might have to change the format of this FOMC live shit, man, because This is just
You're
a
right.
waste of time.
Yeah,
increases
that's what I was saying.
in,
We can,
in
I mean,
consumer
at this point, we don't have to
confidence
continue
or happiness with the economy.
I mean, it's all
I guess
just
that's a
bunch
good
of
thing.
gibberish. It's just a lot of it's bullshit, lies. You know, we got a few other things that we were going to talk about.
Yeah, let's go ahead and do that, man. Round of applause.
I mean, it'd be great if they actually were saying something that was substantive, talking about what about all these companies doing layoffs? What about what's going to happen on March 12th with this bank term funding program and no more loans going to banks?
Yeah, Andy Lee said it best. I mean, it literally is the same stuff regurgitated, maybe mixed up a little bit. It's the same stuff every month.
Yes, I'm getting like a headache listening to it because it doesn't. It's just
so
not.
Let's talk about this.
Can you stop the sound? I can still hear it.
Yeah, let's talk about this bank funding. It's called the Bank Term Funding Program, which will be ending, as you stated, Rice, on March 11th. So that could be a significant.
Let's talk about when it began, though. When and why did it begin?
Right. So it began in last year, last March, I believe.
And it was because of the Silicon Valley Bank crisis.
Correct. So it was created to create like a liquidity bump to all these banks. And they got to come up with a new term to just make it seem like it's not money printing, like it's not QE 5.
Right, but it's banks borrowing from the Fed.
Banks borrowing from the Fed. But they do have to pay it back, I believe. I don't know the details of it, but that program is ending March 11th, ladies and gentlemen. So
is it March 11th? For some reason I thought it was March 12th. Does it say up there? Because I'm looking through this article on Reuters. It does say March 11th. I don't know where I got the 12th number at. Maybe that or Hayes was off on the date. And I kept thinking of what was said. Yeah, so PayPal was the one that I heard about recently that Crypto Boogie is saying. PayPal is laying off 2,500 people.
Yeah, PayPal.
Again, the economy's doing great. It's going great.
But this is why, I follow a guy named Jeffrey Gundlach. He's like the bond king. Okay. OG, he's big. I think he runs the biggest bond fund now. Since what's the guy name? I forgot who his name was. He used to be the bond king, but you got people like him coming out saying, you know what? These numbers are lies. He's a very reputable and respected guy on Wall Street. He actually is going to be talking on CNBC after the Fed meeting. Okay. But he's now saying that these numbers are lies, bro. So we're getting to that point where they'll give you a headline number, Rice, and then the following month they'll revise it by 50% or something, something very, very big where it shouldn't be that big of a delta from, headline number and the next month the revision number.
No, it shouldn't be. I mean, he was making like there was a big change from December's meeting. And that was like 45 days ago or less.
Right.
And so it's like, because a lot of these indicators, a lot of it's lagging. So they're not really going to know what's going on until later because of the lagging effect. So this is where I kind of wish I dived a little bit more seriously into some of the economics. Now, I mean, obviously I got a big grasp of it, but there's certain things that just go way over my head. And this Keynesian economic system of monetary money theory shit is just it's too much. It's the most confusing, non-simplistic, life-sucking system. It's designed to be that way. It's designed to get people to not want to care. It's, talking to A1 was saying, thanks guys, I was falling asleep. We're sitting here complaining. I'm complaining about listening to this bullshit.
Yep.
And it's just that's what we're being fed. We're just being fed bullshit. And that's what we're always being fed is bullshit.
Well, while we're being fed the bullshit, please hit the thumbs up, smack that button right now for both Rice and I.
I don't like the bullshit.
We would like to greatly like that. So, there's a bank. I didn't even know about this, Rice. There's a bank in trouble in New York. Tell us a little bit about that situation.
I had just heard about it today. I was trying to watch some content, and I was watching something that caught my eye from Meet Kevin, and he was talking about another bank failure or something to that effect. So it caught my attention. I was wanting to look into it. And let me
I don't think we're
here.
There was something, I don't know if it was in the movie that the documentary you sent over, The Great Taking.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if it was in that one, but somewhere I saw it was a 2-year, 3-year period before we actually saw shit hit the fan, between when we saw the first group of banks failing back in the 1930s.
Yeah, I don't know. It was The Great Taking. I don't know if he said 2 or 3 years, but again, there was a lag in between, and but that goes back to the analogy of a rock hitting a window, like I've been saying a lot of times. So if you're driving down the road and a rock hits your windshield, it's going to chip the windshield and put a little crack in it. Might be like a splintered out crack. Now, if you don't go get your windshield fixed, as the temperature changes, it gets hotter, colder, daytime, nighttime, weather, and all these things, it could cause that crack to then splinter back out further. So it's and that's kind of like the first bank failures that we started seeing with those 3 bank failures in 2020. Was it? I mean, it feels like it's so long ago, wasn't it?
2023.
It feels like it was like 2022 or something.
No, it's
just this shit's just taking its effect on my soul, man. Yeah, I think that, if you look at the rock hitting the windows being those first 3 banks, and then that it splinters out, and then you start having the spider web effect. And if you don't do anything to fix your windshield properly, it's going to continue spider web out to the point that you're not going to be able to see, and the smallest thing hitting your windshield is just going to crack it completely. It's going to be gone. And that's, I kind of feel like we're just driving around after our car windshield has been hit with a rock, and we can't afford to fix it. So we're just slowly watching that thing spider web out.
Yep.
And just hoping that we can get from point A to point B without that windshield just caving in on us.
Hopefully we don't hit a Detroit pothole and tear this shit up. Crack it some more.
I mean,
bend the rim.
I just don't think, again, it goes back to this being a rigged game, man. When you have the Federal Reserve in charge and you have everybody bowing down to the money, the people that control the money, it's putting us in a worse position than we are now. I mean, it's just like, we know that in 2007, 2008, with the global financial crash, that was the end of the system, but they put it on life support. And they're continuing to try to keep this thing alive when it's not conducive to humanity. It's
and
not
then conveniently,
positive.
we were about to go into it again in 2019, September. We had the repo crisis. Shit was hitting the fan big time.
Here's the thing.
All of a sudden,
because we also had an inverted yield curve in 2019 as well, which is a sign for a recession. And we did. This is what I didn't. And it makes sense if you think about it this way. We did experience a recession in 2020, but most people didn't feel it because of all the money printing, because of all that stimulus. And then now we're feeling the effects of the stimulus, because all the money printing that was going on before, the QE 1, 2, 3, and all that wasn't going into our pockets. That was going into inflate the monetary system. So it made everything look good.
Yeah.
It's just bullshit, man. It's just it's a game of like and there's so much happening around the world that you have all these different distractions pulling you in different directions. You don't know what to focus on. That's been also one of my biggest problems, is not knowing where to focus my attention.
Well, I want to focus our attention really quickly before we wrap up, Rice, to this situation that happened. Shout out to, I think, Joe Charts. What's my man name on X? Can't remember his name. He pointed this out to me.
Well, the other thing real quick with that bank that we were showing with the New York Community Bank Court, it plunged a record of 46% after reporting a loss tied to deteriorating credit quality and to cut its dividends. So the company lowered its quarterly payout to shareholders to 5 cents from 17 cents as it prepared to meet stricter capital requirements. A worsening credit outlook contributed to the unexpected fourth quarter loss, as the bank's loan loss provisions surged to $552 million, more than 10 times analyst estimates.
Wow.
So this is just one. I feel like we're going to start hearing about this more and more.
Ramp up again. Absolutely.
And a lot of this is direct result of what the Federal Reserve has been doing because of the interest rates, because a lot of these banks were playing it safe with treasury bonds, but we were playing in a rigged game. So it wasn't exactly a safe way to invest your money, because the people that were investing their money in these bonds are now underwater because of the interest rates. They're worth less than when they paid for them. So it's just a crazy situation that we're seeing ourselves be put into. And Jerome Powell mentioned the word confidence, and that's all this shit's based on, confidence. It's a confidence game, and when you break it down, it's a con game. It's a con game, and the game is rigged.
Shout out to my guy here from Twitter. He pointed this out this morning to me, Rice, about what's going on in Delaware, and Elon, Crypto Charts Joe, said, what's your take on the judge in Delaware trying to screw over Elon on his pay package? So if you guys don't know, man, this is
you brought
crazy.
this to my attention.
Yeah, so
And
I
this
think
is screwed up
year,
too.
Yeah,
but I do realize though,
we had and you went ahead and found out who actually brought this forth, and we'll
because I was like, how can Delaware just do this? Like, it doesn't make any sense that a state can come in and say what a company that's a publicly traded company is doing when they have to make these announcements and stuff. Everything has to be public because they're publicly traded.
Yeah, and it was voted by the board.
It was like 55 or 56 million. Billion. 55 or 56 billion.
That was,
is what was
voted on
to Elon Musk as a compensatory. I don't know how to say that fucking word.
56 billion.
56 billion. And they basically said that we're not going to allow the company to give this money to Elon Musk because a shareholder is complaining.
I think it was I think it's a clawback. Now, I don't know if they pay it out. I don't believe they pay it out all at once. They have like a schedule on paying this 56 billion out to Elon. But as of now, and I don't know if you can even appeal this. I don't know how it works out there in Delaware. But because Tesla was organized in Delaware, like my companies, I had a few tech companies, we did it in Delaware as well. There's some advantages to that, but the judge clawed back the 56 billion from them.
The BBC article said the lawsuit was filed by a shareholder who argued that it was an overpayment. So if it was an overpayment, then there should have been some sort of resolution that said, well, if it was an overpayment, then he should be
vote again.
He should be privy to this. If that was the because they're basically taking it all back, saying that he's not at this point, he can't get any of it. So he does have the right to appeal it.
Okay, he does. So do you think first he'll win the appeal, and secondly, do you think this rogue one investor was put up to this by the powers that be because of what?
That's what I was trying to dig into it, because I didn't know if maybe this shareholder was like representing other shareholders and it was just the one that wanted it to be public, because it doesn't have to be like a whole class action kind of thing. It could be one guy representing some constituents as well. But this is just based off one shareholder. It doesn't make sense when the board votes and they vote in favor.
I did a little digging before we went live just to see, who is this Catherine, or I should say Karen McCormick.
Chancellor Karen McCormick.
Chancellor Karen McCormick.
The Chancellor of the Chancery. She's the Chancellor of the Chancery, which I don't even understand what that. Yeah. Well,
and we got Morgan Pierce to the left there.
Uncensored.
I said, who is this lady? Okay. So she oversaw Twitter's July 2022 lawsuit against the entrepreneur when he tried to break his $44 billion contract to buy the social media platform. The judge rejected Musk's foot-dragging tactics, and on the eve of the expedited October trial, he agreed to stick to the deal. And so it looks like she may have a vendetta against him.
Yeah, that's what it seems like.
But I went even further, right?
And if that's the case, though, then you would think that it would be really simple for Musk and his attorneys to prove that.
Yeah, she also, had to be something against Trump. Delaware Chancellor Karen McCormick, who leads the U.S. top business court, said on Monday that a former Trump official got it wrong when he wrote to the state that they are trying to drive away corporations by embracing environmental, social, and governance issues.
Why are they spelling out the ESG in the big word, like so people wouldn't realize it's ESG?
Right.
Oh, that's what ESG means.
Exactly.
I thought it was ISJ. How do you pronounce ESG?
ISJ.
ISJ.
So she, and this didn't age well because now we know the ESG movement was a whole bunch of BS. BlackRock, backstepped on their
It could also be an
initiative.
attack, though, on Musk himself. Mr. Sekula makes a good point with the WEF. Already saying they've lost the news narrative. Now, I'm not 100% with that, but going after X has been kind of deemed as the international public forum.
Mm-hmm.
So if you could take away the international public forum and take away that voice, I mean, we've got one of the World Economic Forum individuals that's running Twitter now. That's just the new CEO.
Yes. How do you feel about, I know you got to go, but how do you feel about, we talking about the WEF, a lot of people were sus on Governor Abbott down there in Texas because he was a part of it and everything, but it looks like he's standing up for America and fighting against DC.
Or it could be part of the plan too. I mean, you got to think outside the box. I mean, if the powers that be want to institute like a martial law situation, then having a CW would enact a martial law.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, I don't know, dude. I mean, I don't. Sometimes I feel like these politicians are really doing something, but Abbott's got like an interesting track record as an individual. It's not like he's 100% clean, and they're trying to make him out to be dirty. So that's why I'm saying I'm not a fan of any of these politicians at all.
Yeah.
I don't know if you had a chance, but James
some
O'Keefe
of his moves definitely seem to handicap himself.
O'Keefe Media has I watched something last night late, and I think there's more parts to it, but it's like he's talking to some guy that works for some Republican senator or congressman, but he's a Democrat, and he was talking about things that take place in the White House and in the House, talking about like the sex parties and people using drugs and people being blackmailed, and that when it goes to sessions, that a lot of these politicians are given what they call suggestions on how they're supposed to vote for things. And the way that it was being implied was that it really wasn't a suggestion. It was like, this is what you're going to do because we've got blackmail on you.
Mm-hmm.
So that goes to say too, like any real person who gets elected into like Congress, Senate, that gets in there, once they get in there, they realize they've got to become part of that system if they're going to be in that system. You can't be an outsider. It doesn't work like that. It's just like George Carlin said, it's a big club and we ain't in it.
Yeah, there you go.
And you get an opportunity to be in the club.
Could Abbott be Trump's VP pick? Nah, I doubt it.
No.
I see either Vivek or
I don't think it's going to be him.
I would love to see RFK Jr.
That would be interesting.
I would love to see that. Give us a.
But I don't know how that would work. I mean, he couldn't be a Republican.
Yes,
and we talked about that too. He could. I mean,
he would be a Democrat. We've had that before. Yes, we have.
Has it been since the presidents were allowed to pick the running mate? Because it used to be that the second placed second became vice president. Now, could you imagine if Trump had to be Biden's vice president?
Yes, I could.
Or Hillary Clinton had to be Trump's vice president?
Ooh, not that way around, but yeah.
I mean, it's a way of keeping each other in check.
Though?
I think,
but they're not in check-in. They're not controlling anything anyway, or a lot of
just
it.
Well, Ronnie said what I was about to say, but I like to say right wing, left wing, same bird.
Yeah.
And there's something called the horseshoe theory. Let me see if I can pull that up real quick, and then we can wrap things up.
All right.
Horseshoe.
While we do that, guys, please hit that thumbs up. We really greatly appreciate each and every one of you. We've got over 100 people all together on our streams today. Rumble. We got it live on X. We got it on YouTube. Please support our channels. Links are in the description for Rice's channel, and links for my channel are in Rice's description. So definitely support both of them.
Make sure you do it. We appreciate it. So I'm going to pull up this from Wikipedia. It's the horseshoe theory. When I was doing some research, try to find a way of presenting this. It's an idea in the political science that asserts that the far right is more similar to the far left than to the center left, and vice versa. The horseshoe theory is often used as argument for centrism. The name, the horseshoe theory, comes from the idea that politics is not a straight line from left to right, but bent like a horseshoe, so that the two ends, the far left and the far right, share more similarities with each other than their modern counterparts. So you see the diagram?
Yeah.
Far left, far right are closer to each other than they would be at the center.
I said, yeah, I actually
So,
said
and it works
that
the same way.
day.
It works the same way with a bird. So when a bird is flying, their wings like almost touch.
They're touching right now, man. The left, the far left and far right, they're
So they
both
almost
going for
touch.
the war. They're almost touching. They want
And so they're
war.
closer together at that wingspan point in flight than they are on the back from the edge, the center point of where the wings begin. If that makes any sense. That's where I was trying to explain. If you go too far right, you become left. It's just really crazy idea. It's like almost becoming that which you hate. It's almost the same idea of like in Star Wars, where the rebellion became the bad guys and kept flip-flopping as to who the perspective of who the good guy was.
How do you feel about what Syrianification is saying here?
No, I told you I don't trust Elon.
He doesn't trust. Yeah, I do. I'm as much as I can. Right, I don't trust fully any.
Like I said, he's getting these money transmitter licenses, and he's from South Africa. I could see him supporting BRICS Nation and trying to undo the dollar.
Mm.
And that's not, if people want to think about that in logic, you don't want that to happen right now.
Yeah. Well, guys, that wraps it up for today. We really appreciate each and every one of you. Next time we do a FOMC Rice, we are going to do something different with this damn podium.
Well, we got 2 months to plan it. So
yeah, we got 2 months to plan it. Hopefully,
let me see here. Let me pull up.
Society is still intact, but
it's almost. So March 20th was when we would be looking at the next
you
meeting.
won't be bored to death next time.
Falling asleep, us getting headaches, me complaining.
Yep. So go follow.
Thank you, pal.
man.
We really appreciate you. We appreciate the
Rice,
public
man.
service that you do for us. Thank you.
Go follow Rice, ladies and gentlemen. Link in the description below.
Follow
And
Blood.
of course, go follow me. Greatly appreciate it. Link in the description below.
Thanks for hosting this live stream, my friend.
Absolutely. Anything else? Last words, Rice?
Yeah, one thing I really want to encourage people is if you guys see these YouTube ads of Vitalik Buterin, Michael Saylor, Brad Garlinghouse, all these different individuals saying that send me some Ethereum or Ethereum or Bitcoin and we'll send you double the amount back. Just choose this, just hit this QR scanner. YouTube is taking money from scammers and trying to hurt you as a viewer of their platform, while simultaneously not allowing people to know that me and Blood have content.
Yep.
So we try to put out honest content for you. YouTube wants to put us in the shadows and then throw a bunch of scams right in front of your face saying, click here. So shout out to YouTube, shout out to Facebook, shout out to Meta, shout out to that congressional hearing about the child stuff that's going on. Shout out to Ted Cruz for calling out Zuckerberg like a little fucking dog he is. And yeah, we got to be the change that we want to see in this world. And sometimes that means you got to get your hands dirty.
There you go, ladies and gentlemen. We out of here, people. Wow.
Dollars in it don't make sense. Got me sipping brown water, but it ain't from Flint. Trying to chase those bread, though the shit won't last. About to shut the city down like a crypto crash. Stacking my coin, stacking my coin, stacking my coin, stacking my coin. Bitcoin, Litecoin, Ethereum, cash. Bitcoin, Litecoin, Ether, cash, stacking my coin, stacking my coin, stacking my coin, stacking my coin. Bitcoin, Litecoin, Ether, cash, Bitcoin, Litecoin, Ether, cash.
Fuck it. Do it live. I'll write it and we'll do it live.
Okay. Ready?
Fucking thing sucks. We'll do it live.
Okay.